By the end of this video, you will know exactly how to build a retirement plan that could let you quit working decades before 65, and you'll have a step-by-step system you can start implementing before you go to bed tonight. I'm not talking about getting lucky with cryptocurrency or inheriting money from a distant relative. I'm talking about a proven mathematical framework that thousands of ordinary people are using right now to walk away from their jobs in their 30s and 40s. Here's a number that should wake you up. The average American retires at 64 with less than $200,000 saved. That's not a comfortable retirement. That's barely scraping by while praying Social Security doesn't collapse. But there's a growing movement of people who are doing something radically different. They're retiring at 42, 38, even 35, with over $1 million invested and generating enough passive income to never work another day in their lives. The strategy they're using has a name. It's called FIRE, which stands for Financial Independence Retire Early. But before we get to the one calculation most financial advisors never share with their clients, one that can literally shave 5 to 10 years off your journey to retirement. Let's start with what FIRE actually means and why the traditional retirement advice you've been hearing your entire life is keeping you trapped. In this video, you're going to learn 3 things that will fundamentally change how you think about money and work. First, the exact savings rate you need to retire at any age you choose. Second, the investment strategy that makes early retirement mathematically inevitable. Third, the spending framework that lets you live well now while still building wealth at an accelerated pace. Quick, if you've ever felt like you're running on a hamster wheel, working 50 weeks a year just to afford a life you barely have time to enjoy, hit the like button right now. It tells the algorithm this content is valuable and helps us reach more people who need to hear this. Let me paint a picture for you. You graduated from school, got a decent job, and started contributing to your retirement account like everyone told you to. You're putting in 6% of your income because that's what your company matches. You're doing everything right according to conventional wisdom. And yet something feels deeply wrong. You run the numbers and realize that at this pace, you'll be 67 years old before you can stop working. 67. That's 45 years of alarm clocks, Monday morning meetings, and asking permission to take a vacation. Meanwhile, you watch your parents finally retire, exhausted and often dealing with health issues that prevent them from doing the things they always dreamed about. The average person spends 90,000 hours of their life at work. 90,000 hours. And here's the tragedy. Most people spend those hours counting down to a retirement that may never come or come so late that they can't fully enjoy it. The financial industry has convinced us that retirement is something that happens automatically at 65 if we just follow the standard playbook. Save 10%, invest in a target date fund, and wait 4 decades. But here's what nobody tells you. That playbook wasn't designed to help you retire early. It was designed to keep you as a customer for as long as possible, paying fees on your investments for 40 years instead of 15. The FIRE movement flips this entire script upside down. Let me explain the core philosophy of FIRE, and I promise this is simpler than any financial advisor has ever made it sound. The entire movement is built on one powerful equation. Your savings rate determines your working years, not your income, not your investment returns, your savings rate. Here's a concrete example that will blow your mind. If you save 10% of your income, the standard advice, you'll need to work for approximately 51 years before you can retire. But if you save 50% of your income, that number drops to just 17 years. Save 65% and you're looking at 10.5 years of work before financial independence. This isn't magic, it's math. Every dollar you save does double duty. It's one more dollar working for you in investments, and it's proof that you can live happily on less than you earn. When you reduce your expenses, you're not just saving more money, you're simultaneously reducing the amount you'll need in retirement. Most people get this completely wrong. They focus obsessively on earning more money without ever addressing their spending. I know people earning $300,000 a year who are further from retirement than someone earning $60,000 simply because they've inflated their lifestyle to match every raise. The fix is straightforward. Calculate your current savings rate today. Take your annual savings, divide it by your gross income, and multiply by 100. That single number tells you more about your retirement timeline than any other metric. Now let's talk about the famous 4% rule, because this is the engine that makes FIRE actually work. In 1994, a financial advisor named William Bengen analyzed 90 years of stock market data and discovered something remarkable. If you withdraw 4% of your investment portfolio in your first year of retirement, then adjust that amount for inflation each year after, your money has historically lasted at least 30 years in every scenario tested, including the Great Depression and multiple market crashes. Here's what this means in real numbers. If you need $40,000 per year to cover all your expenses, you need $1 million invested. If you need $60,000 per year, you need $1.5 million. The formula is simple. Multiply your annual expenses by 25, and that's your FIRE number. That's the exact amount you need invested before you can walk away from work forever. Stop. Before I continue, this next part is critical. The 4% rule assumes a traditional 30-year retirement. If you're planning to retire at 35, your money needs to last 50 or 60 years, not 30. This is where many FIRE enthusiasts make a dangerous mistake. For early retirees, most experts recommend using a 3 to 3.5% withdrawal rate instead. This means multiplying your annual expenses by 28 to 33 rather than 25. It's more conservative, but it protects you against sequence of returns risk, which is the danger of experiencing a market crash in your first few years of retirement. One bad decade early on can devastate a portfolio that might have survived if the crash happened later. Let's get specific about where your money should actually go, because not all investment accounts are created equal. The FIRE community has identified an optimal order of operations that maximizes your tax advantages. First, contribute enough to your employer's retirement plan to capture the full company match. This is literally free money with an instant 100% return. If your employer matches 4% and you're not contributing at least 4%, you're leaving thousands of dollars on the table every single year. Second, max out a Roth IRA. In 2024, that's $7,000 per year if you're under 50. Roth accounts grow completely tax-free, and you can withdraw your contributions, not the gains, but your contributions at any time without penalty. This creates an accessible bridge to cover expenses before you reach traditional retirement age. Third, go back to your workplace retirement plan and max that out too. Fourth, open a taxable brokerage account for everything else. This next section changed everything for me when I first learned it. Most people obsess over picking individual stocks or timing the market. The data shows this is almost always a losing strategy. Over a 15-year period, 92% of actively managed funds underperform a simple index fund. 92%. The winning strategy is boring. Buy low-cost index funds that track the entire market, reinvest dividends, and never sell during downturns. A total stock market index fund with an expense ratio under 0.1% is all most people need. Add some international exposure and perhaps a bond allocation as you get closer to your FIRE number, and you have a portfolio that will likely outperform most professional money managers. Now, I want to address the different flavors of FIRE, because this movement isn't one size fits all. Traditional FIRE means accumulating enough investments to cover a moderate lifestyle indefinitely. Your target number might be $1 to $2 million, depending on your expenses. Fat FIRE is for people who want to maintain a more luxurious lifestyle in retirement. We're talking annual budgets of $100,000 or more, which means accumulating $2.5 to $4 million or beyond. Lean FIRE is the minimalist approach, retiring on $30,000 to $40,000 per year by keeping expenses extremely low, often through geographic arbitrage or simple living. Coast FIRE is perhaps the most psychologically appealing version for many people. This is where you save aggressively early in your career until your investments will grow to your full FIRE number by traditional retirement age, even if you never add another dollar. Then you can coast, working part-time or taking lower-paying but more fulfilling work, knowing retirement is mathematically guaranteed. I need to pause here because this is where most people go wrong. They try to pursue the most aggressive version of FIRE, burn out, and quit entirely. The best FIRE strategy is the one you can actually maintain for years. If lean FIRE sounds miserable to you, don't pursue it. If fat FIRE requires you to work 80-hour weeks at a job you hate, it's not worth the trade-off. Choose your target lifestyle first, then build your plan around it. If you've made it this far, you're already ahead of 95% of people, and what I'm about to share in this next section is the most valuable part of this entire video. Don't skip it. Subscribe to Wealth Decode Plus if you haven't already. We drop a brand new money strategy every single day at 6 p.m. Hit that notification bell so you never miss one. Let's talk about the spending side of the equation, because frugality is where FIRE actually happens. There are 3 major expense categories that determine your path to financial independence: housing, transportation, and food. These 3 typically consume over 60% of most household budgets. But here's what nobody tells you. There's a massive difference between being cheap and being strategic. Being cheap means suffering through a lower quality of life for marginal savings. Being strategic means ruthlessly cutting expenses you don't care about while generously spending on what actually makes you happy. Housing is usually the biggest lever you can pull. The difference between a $400,000 home and a $250,000 home could be 5 to 7 extra years of working. House hacking, where you buy a small multi-unit property, live in one unit, and rent the others, can reduce your housing costs to 0 or even generate positive cash flow. Transportation is next. The average new car payment in America is now over $700 per month. That's $8,400 per year before insurance, gas, and maintenance. Meanwhile, a reliable used car might cost $3,000 total and run for another 100,000 miles. Most people skip this step. Don't. Track every dollar you spend for 60 days. Every single dollar. You'll discover spending patterns you never knew existed. I've seen people find $500 or more per month in subscriptions, convenience fees, and mindless purchases they didn't even remember making. Now for the income side, because you can only cut expenses so far before you're living in discomfort, growing your income has no ceiling. The FIRE community focuses heavily on increasing the gap between income and expenses. This means asking for raises strategically, switching jobs for salary bumps, building side income streams, and investing in skills that command premium pay. A $10,000 raise, invested over 20 years at a 7% return, becomes over $38,000. That single negotiation conversation that takes 30 minutes could add years of freedom to your life. The mistake most people make with increased income is immediately increasing their lifestyle to match. This is called lifestyle inflation, and it's the silent killer of early retirement dreams. Every raise should go through a filter. 50% minimum goes directly to investments before you even see it. You can still enjoy some of the extra income, but the majority should accelerate your timeline rather than inflate your lifestyle. Here's exactly what you need to do to put everything we've discussed into action. Today, before you go to bed, I want you to calculate 2 numbers. First, your current savings rate. Second, your FIRE number based on your current annual expenses multiplied by 25 for traditional FIRE or by 30 for a more conservative approach. This will take less than 10 minutes with a calculator and your last few bank statements. This week, set up automatic transfers so your savings happen without any willpower required. Open a high-yield savings account for your emergency fund if you don't have one. Apps like Ally or Marcus by Goldman Sachs offer rates above 4% right now. Review your subscriptions and cancel anything you haven't used in the past 30 days. This month, increase your retirement contributions by at least 1%. Open a Roth IRA if you don't have one. Begin tracking your spending with a free app like Mint or YNAB. Create a simple investment policy statement, just one page that defines exactly what you'll invest in and when, so you never make emotional decisions during market volatility. Now let me answer the question I planted at the beginning of this video. The calculation most financial advisors never share with their clients, the one that can shave years off your journey. It's this. Your savings rate matters more than your investment returns. A person earning $50,000 who saves $25,000 will become financially independent years before someone earning $200,000 who saves the same $25,000. Because the high earner has built a lifestyle requiring far more to maintain. The person living on less has already proven they don't need as much. Every percentage point you add to your savings rate can remove years from your working career. Going from 15 to 20% might mean retiring 3 years earlier. Going from 30 to 40% could mean 5 to 7 years. The entire financial industry is built around maximizing assets under management. They make more money when you accumulate more wealth over longer periods. That's why you rarely hear this advice from traditional sources. They benefit when your working career is as long as possible. But now you know the truth. Let's recap the 3 most important things you learned today. First, your savings rate determines your retirement timeline, not your income or your investment returns. Second, the 4% rule, or 3% for early retirees, gives you the exact target number you need to achieve financial independence. Third, strategic spending on what you value while ruthlessly cutting what you don't is the fastest path to the life you actually want to live. Comment below and tell me which of these strategies are you going to try first. I read every single comment and I'll personally reply to as many as I can. In tomorrow's video, I'm revealing the exact portfolio allocation that FIRE millionaires use to protect their wealth while still growing it, something that took me years to figure out and most people never learn. Subscribe right now so you don't miss it.